Like to call to order Smyrna Planning Commission for July 2019. At this time, we'd ask everyone to stand for our prayer and pledge. Trey, please.
Let us bow. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us. We thank you for this time that we've been allotted to come together to go over plans for our city. We ask that you watch over us and give us guidance as we deliberate these matters. At this time of year, we'd like to especially thank those that and remember those that have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms. We ask that you bless their families. Help us to always remember those that have gone before so that we don't forget. And we ask that you be with us through the rest of this meeting. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Face flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. No citizens' comments at this time.
None tonight.
Moving on to item number 4, approval of the minutes. Do we have any corrections or additions to the minutes as they were handed out? If not, may I have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5, new business, annexation, zoning, plan of service. Item number 1, J.M. Burns LLC. Staff comments.
Yeah, this is a annexation and zoning request of R3 for part of a parcel of land. It's tax map 32, parcel 19.01. It's about 24.81 acres of a larger parcel has been requested to be annexed. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R1 and R3. There is the adjacent to this tract, there's a PRD, the Wind Farms PRD, and an RM in Rutherford County. Land use plan would support a low-density, single-family residential development in this area. Just for everyone's information, there is an existing water line that's 16 inches there, and the fire flow is greater than 4,000 gallons per minute, so there is not an issue of fire flow here. The town would be providing all services to this area, including water, if it is annexed. And again, the requested zoning is R3, which is consistent with the surrounding zoning of R3 and PRD. And that's all that I've got.
Please put me down as not voting, taking part in discussion. Any other questions do y'all have for staff? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the staff comments.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of recommending this positively to the town council, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under new business, item B, rezoning request number 1, Sean Collins. Staff comments.
Yeah, this is a rezoning request for several tracts that total 66.79 acres, all currently zoned R3, requested to be rezoned to a PRD. The PRD would be known as Derby Run. Surrounding zoning is a RM in Rutherford County, and then in the Amberton and Cedar Hills PRDs are joining it as well in town. Land use plan would support a medium-density, single-family residential development in this area. The proposed PRD is for 204 single-family residential lots. We had a few comments that I'll go over those real quickly. One of the pages indicate that some of the tracts are requested to be annexed, but these are all annexed already, so it is just a rezoning request. Sewer will have to come through the Amberton subdivision. Staff did recommend a similar house size range as Cedar Hills and Amberton. The proposed minimum on this is 1,400 square feet. The Cedar Hills had a range of basically 1,400 to 3,000 with a 2,000 average. and Amberton had an 1,800 minimum. There was a traffic study that was submitted for this project as well as the next project on the agenda. There was one study for both developments. They're very close to one another. And that is under review. So we don't have any specific recommendations on that, but we did receive it last week and are reviewing it. And then comment number 8, with the proposed development plan, there is a road, there's 2 roads. One, Inez Drive is stubbed into this property and would be extended through this project as part of phase 1 of this project. So, and then it would eventually get extended through Cedar Hills as well. So that's number 1. The other stub street is Antique Avenue. They are not proposing to extend that. What we would recommend is either extended or that the developer work with Rutherford County Highway Department to create a permanent cul-de-sac there. There is a fairly long run of road there that comes just to a dead end at this time. So if it's not going to be extended, that they just
Do you have
create a
that on
permanent
the map
cul-de-sac.
somewhere where you can,
It might show up here, I believe. You have Antique Avenue is kind of in this area here. This is the road here that currently dead ends into this kind of this triangular area of the property that they're basically just leaving alone as open space. One of their detention areas is proposed to be right here. There's also a stream there that they have to kind of leave alone. That's not a dry stream bed that has water during certain times of the year, I guess. But so anyway, that's where that is right now. This is just a vacant, or essentially vacant track here that it dead ends into.
so where they have a cul-de-sac right there, is that what you're saying needs?
No, the road I'm talking about is here.
Yes.
It's an existing county road, and they're basically not proposing to extend it just a little bit to get to here. And so we're just saying either extend it or create a cul-de-sac here, is all we're saying. They are proposing to stub, this is a cul-de-sac, but it could be extended in the future here.
What's
this
the
road.
topo like? Because there's not anything serving that tract of property there right now, is it?
I believe this track, I don't know for sure. It may front either back to Allenville or Rocky Fork Allenville. I can't recall. Let's see. Yeah, it actually has frontage on Allenville Road.
So Inez is gonna come through the back of it, back to Rocky Fork, Amable? All the way through there?
Eventually, when Cedar Hills is extended, yes. As of right now, that portion of Cedar Hills isn't built yet, but that's a future section of Cedar Hills.
Mhm.
And so, yes, eventually it would come out to Rocky Fork Allenville through this development. It's already built essentially through Amberton, and then it would go on through this development and then through Cedar
Where does
Hills.
Antique Avenue go?
It comes back to, well, I can't remember the cross street.
Metal
but
Arc.
It comes, yeah, Metal
Metal
Arc
Arc.
and out to Inez and out to Allenville Road. It's essentially dead-ended on both ends. It kind of is a parallel street to Inez.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Davenport, Rob Mulch on the SEC on behalf of my client. I did follow up with Doug DeMasi and Mike Hughes of the county in regards to Kevin's request about Antique Avenue. Doug and Mike were both in the agreeing party that they do not want to do anything actually with Antique. They would like to leave it the way it is. Actually, that little triangular piece there, as Kevin talked about, is the confluence of 2 delineated streams that we had delineated during our HD report. So they are actually streams that will require buffers. It is a very rocky stream bed. It's very deep. It's probably about 5-6 feet deep. So it would be a decent bridge crossing to make it go across that area. Doug and Mike both felt that the road has been that way for a very long time in the county. They felt that the current condition of a dead end is perfectly fine from their standpoint, and with the fire marshal on that side as well, that they did not want to proceed forward with trying to add in a cul-de-sac at that location. They'd like to leave it the way it is, and they would not see any reason for it to be stubbed through that little corner of our property, trying to cross that large creekway that's in that area to get to this other piece of land that is actually, the piece of land that Kevin talked about actually has frontage on Almaville Road. So you will have frontage to that parcel of land off of Almaville, but also, as you can see, we talked about that street that comes down towards that parcel that has a cul-de-sac on our project right now. That will be able to be extended if necessary, and in any planning that goes on in that future parcel on that side, we'll be able to make a connection to that to get back to Inez and Rocky Fork, Almaville on that side and everywhere over
You're
there.
talking
So
about the cul-de-sac that we were just.
on our plans. Yeah, so that's predicated for the notion of right now, we can leave it as is a cul-de-sac, that if that land to the south did develop, that we could allow for that to be a connection back through whenever that plan ever did come forward at that point in time.
We just have to make sure that that the roadway easement is defined where, not just touching it from a,
Right, when the plat comes in, we'll have to make sure the right-of-way is there, connecting it to that parcel line, yes.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and show that right-of-way extending down to the property line, but we'll show it as a semi-permanent cul-de-sac until said time that there is a connection made from the adjacent property on that side. But I just wanted to give you a little heads up that Kevin was out, and I hadn't gotten back to Kevin in regards to, or my correspondence with Doug and Mike at the county in regards to what they wanted to do with that roadway. They just felt that it's been that way for a while. They didn't feel there was a need to connect to it in regards to the adjacent property, and they also didn't feel like there was a need to go ahead and put a cul-de-sac on it, since it's been operating that way for probably 20-plus years at this point in time, so.
Kevin, you have any issues with that, or can we address it when the plat comes in?
I think we can address it when the plat comes in with the other road, and I'll confirm with Doug and Mike, maybe get to something in writing for our file, so we know that too, for sure, but, if that's okay, if they're okay with that, I understand why they don't want to extend it. It doesn't really benefit their development at all to extend it. And also you have the stream. So I understood what they were looking at and why they didn't want to extend it. I just wanted to be sure that the county was okay with because that's their road right now. And it will be for the foreseeable future, that they wanted either to see it extended or to see the cul-de-sac constructed, so.
If you like, Kevin, I'll have Doug and them forward you an email or a letter that
That'd be
states that.
fine. Sure, I appreciate that, yeah.
So Inez and Antique, the whole subdivision there is still all county to the right of
Except for that, the westernmost portion of Inez right here is Amberton. So that is in the town. But everything east of that is in the county, yes. In all of Antique Avenue area.
Is there any reason that Antique would ever need to cut across that little triangle corner there to an adjacent, to a neighboring piece of property that you could see or think of?
If we didn't have this other road here, yeah, I would probably want to see that. I think you can still achieve connectivity back to Inez if you ever needed it, or in another way in and out of that development through this development.
It wouldn't be an issue, I would think, to get a little bit of right-of-way there if we thought it would ever be necessary.
If you wanted to have the right-of-way,
And I'm not.
We had done that
and
once
I'm
before.
not saying we do need it, but
yeah.
look at it before the plat comes in.
Yeah, and we did look at that one time, on another development where we did get right-of-way that was not required to be built, just in case we ever needed it in the future. We did do that.
And I think we'd be fine with doing that if it just came down to more or less granting you that access, that if and when there was ever something that needed to be connected, it could be connected on that side. But, we just don't feel that it provides any necessary need for our development on that at this point in time, because the stormwater detention pond more or less culminates the overall development itself on that side. And we're just trying to preserve that streamway.
Consolidated providing water.
Yes.
Is it gonna, I know they're putting larger lines in out in that area.
At
There's
this
another-
time, I don't know if we've heard on this specific track, but I know we did on the one adjacent to it. We did receive a will serve letter. It's not adjacent, it's
that the one
on
in
the other side
Morton?
of Cedar Hills. No, the one that's on the next one on your agenda.
Okay.
That's on the same road, but on the opposite side there. They were in the processes, they can provide domestic service, no problem. The fire flow is not adequate at this time, but they
That's-
are in the process of an
okay.
upgrades that will make that happen.
Okay.
So they couldn't really get any building permits in this development until that's done, but those upgrades are, they're either underway, there's some that are on construction and some that are planned but not under construction yet, that would correct that issue, so.
And we do have an FID letter from CUD for this project in culmination with the other project. We do have an FID with this CUD. We will be starting our first portions of development, probably coming off of Inez. That's where we have water and sewer today. So probably our first couple phases will feed off of that. The FID letter from CUD does talk about the same water line going down Rocky Fork, that we are going to have them extend that down to our property. So more or less, we'll be putting 2 pressurized zones in to this development for water flow for fire and domestic.
I know they've been upgrading the lines, and there's a whole lot of development out there, and especially across the road there at Morton too, so.
Good question. They just made a statement they'll be starting at Inez and working back toward Rocky Fork. All these subdivisions, I do realize, have outlets to other roads, mostly Rocky Fork, Amaville, or Morton, but they all tie together on Inez. And I keep coming back to the intersection at Inez and Amaville. Eventually, we've looked at individual, but has anybody looked at all of these as a collective unit on whether or not there's a potential in the future for a light at Amaville? Because what's going to happen is all these individual developments are going to get in there, and then the city's going to be hung putting the light in after they all get through.
I know that the traffic study, the one that was done for this and the next item, does recommend, of course, the traffic study recommends the county, because it's still a county intersection, to look at signalizing Rocky Fork, Amaville, and Amaville. So, but did not mention Inez Drive at all. But I understand what you're saying. You're right. With Cedar Hills, this development, Amberton, they're going to potentially at least use some Inez at some point. Part of their development will.
Only somebody can go out Morton Lane at that light, especially at school in the morning. They'll find an alternative to get out of there, or try to.
Or they'll come the backside, come Rocky Fork up to Amberton and come in the back way.
Yeah.
If they're going to school, but if they're trying to get to 24, they're not,
And I want to clarify, we will start there. The goal is for us to get as fast as we can back to Rocky Fork, Almaville. So that's really dependent upon the time frame for CUD to get their water line there, which we understand is either 2020 or 2021. So within the next 2 years of development, which if we go through this process of zoning and then site plans for the first phase or 2 on that side, we'll be able to get back to there at the same time. Roughly, the CUD will be coming through with their water line enhancement along Rocky Fork. So I know from my client's standpoint, getting to Rocky Fork, Almaville is an objective, because one, it's our front door more or less to lots of vehicles driving by from the standpoint of sales, but also accessibility for the residents themselves coming in and out of the development, besides going back over to the Inez Almaville intersection that way, or through Cedar Retreat to get back to Morton on that side as well. So it's a big front door for us.
What options do we have in addressing an intersection like that? Maybe not just that, but just in theory, when it involves a road that's not in our city limits?
What we really have to do is we just have to coordinate that with the county and TDOT, because the Amaville's a state highway too, so
Yes.
we would just have to coordinate that with them, because it's difficult. I know when we looked at Amberton, we did require a traffic study and coordinated that with the county, as far as, because they did do some road improvements on Inez at that intersection. No signal, but they did, added a left turn lane and that sort of thing there. That Amberton was going to create enough of an impact to need that.
There again, is that a plat issue that we would address, or do we address it at this point in time?
I think it can be addressed at the plat, or you can make it, that the Inez Amaville Road exit or interchange be studied as, the traffic study be amended to include that intersection. And then we could look at that and coordinate any needed improvements with Rutherford County to that intersection in addition to the Rocky Fork Allenville Road improvements, because the traffic study does recommend some improvements as well, as far as some turn lanes on Rocky Fork Allenville Road into the
Well, it sounds
development.
like some of that will be coming up at the preliminary plat.
Right, I think we could,
That could
if you
be
wanted to make it a
addressed.
condition of the PUD, that be reviewed and at the plat stage or something like that, you could. You don't have to, we'll be reviewing it anyway.
That'd be okay with you, Trey?
I just
At
think
that-
we need to look at it. We're gonna get,
And we can do it at the preliminary plat. I think it's probably a better time to look at it anyway. What about square footage, building materials, those type things that you mentioned?
Yeah, they're all, the building materials are all the brick, hardy, and stone mix.
You
The
don't have
minimum-
any issues with those?
No. We'd recommended something similar range or size as to what Cedar Hills and Amberton are, since it's gonna tie into both of those. The minimum is 1,400 square feet here. Cedar Hills had the average of 2,000, and Amberton had an average, or a minimum of 1,800. So, and all they detail in this is a minimum of 1,400 square feet, so.
Somewhere in the 1,800 is more of a minimum that we have out there right now?
That's, in Amberton, that is the case. In Cedar Hills, it had actually had a 1,400 minimum, but had a 2,000 average. They had a range with a 2,000 square feet average, so.
What's the wishes of the commission concerning square footage?
And again, and just to clarify, this is a minimum on that side, so these are our homes that will be larger than 1,400. That's just the bare minimum that we listed in there, so it'll
Will
be,
not be a problem raising the minimum, should it then?
depends on what my client has in regards to his portfolio of homes he's gonna put in there, but that's his smallest footprint that he would be able to put in there, would be 1,400 square feet.
I don't think we need a ratio, some kind of idea. It's a PRD, whether, how many 14s and how many that are gonna be larger. It's kind of what we've done in the past. We at least got some kind of a range.
Or we brought the minimum up?
Right, or we brought the minimum up.
I think we would be amicable to coming back, as the process goes through, and if this goes through and forward, come back with some kind of ratio or give some more assurance as to what that average, average square footage would be throughout the development on that side. Because I know, like Kevin said, our minimum is the same as what we have, the minimum is in Amberton, because that was what we based our lot product
I
off
thought
of.
Emerson was 18.
Amberton's 1,800, Cedar Hills had the 1,400
14.
minimum with the 2,000
Cedar
average.
Hills.
Yeah. Cedar Hills did have the different range of size, but they were approved as part of their PUD to have some vinyl, which this does not, so that is a little bit different and better in this one. But that was before we started requiring the other materials.
Okay, specifically concerning square footage, what's the wishes of the commission? The request is 1,400. We can either leave it like that. We can, we have some flexibility if we want to. What do y'all want to do?
Chairman, for the record, I won't be voting or discussing this product. I abstain from this one, so, this one and the next one.
Well, what does everybody other than Mark want to do?
Me, so I'm either 1,600 or we need to be 1,400, and I want to know what the ratio is.
Right.
I'm kind of
One of the
with Trey.
two.
Well, if the ratio doesn't come back to suit us, this is really kind of sort of our only shot at it, or it has to be
Amended.
amended and go through the same process again. if we're really looking at 1,600, I think we ought to do 1,600. And if they want to bring us more detailed information with averages and how many are this and how many are that, then we look at it as an amendment at that point in time.
Or you defer it and ask them to come back next month. That would be another option.
Exactly.
I just spoke to my client. He's good with the same premise of what was done at Cedar Hills, letting the 1,400 be the minimum and the average of the 2,000 on that side. So it'd be the same kind of performance that we'd have set up in Cedar Hills in regards to that structure. That way you know what your bare minimum is, and what we're talking about, our average would be 2,000 square foot in regards to the homes on that side. Same situation, same setup as what had been approved with the Cedar Hills.
How do we govern that?
We just have to, really the only way to govern it is through the building permits, as far as,
But when you're looking at averages, how do you do that through the
Yeah.
entire project?
yeah, I think.
Cedar
I
Hill,
found
that's what it's ending up being. It
Right.
wasn't necessarily what it was required, which probably it should have been, but but we didn't.
Right.
So,
Well, it was in their PUD for documents. I think you had a 1,400 minimum, then a 2,000 average. I think that's what it was, Again, that one was one that we had vinyl allowed in that one too, so we've changed that already on all the others since then. That was a couple more, gosh, it's been almost four years ago now, I think maybe. That was originally started, so.
Do you know what the maximum square footage is gonna be in there? I know you said average is 2,000.
Yeah, we know, I think let me confirm with my client really quick,
You
but
do.
we know what the largest footprint we can get on that size lot is on that, in regards to that. So that would allow us to give us the average. That's why he's comfortable with saying 2,000 would be an average, because he knows he's got 1,400 square footers, but he also has 2,800 square footers that he can fit on that lot size. So he can average that out and say that's, he feels comfortable with saying, I can get away with, saying I'm doing 2,000 would be a good average, because he knows he's got footprints that can go either side, to then it will average itself out over time, so.
are a
So
certain number of your lots of the size that only the 1,400 will fit on there?
No, they're all the same size. Amberton had two different sizes. They had a small and a much larger product line in regards to those lots. Just this one has a single lot size on that side, but we know the product line that
And
fits
what
inside
is
that
that
envelope.
size?
It's a 50 by 120 or 130. It's a 6,000 square foot minimum lot size on that side, so you're talking a 1,400 square foot on 6,000 on that side. The lots are 52 by 120, which is the exact same size as what the smaller product is in Amberton.
So there's 204 lots.
Correct.
So realistically, you could do 102 at the big one and 102 at the little one and meet your minimum.
Correct.
I would rather see it at 1,600 minimum, knowing that, because
It's just so much easier
Right.
to
It's
expect
an
in
easier,
staff to.
yeah.
especially
Yeah,
since a
if we
lot.
get down to the last 50 and the average isn't right, what do we do?
yeah.
I mean,
It would be easier to have just the minimum without a range.
Too many variables.
A range is fine, but have a minimum and not worry about an average, yeah.
yes, sir.
Do you want to speak to? Yeah.
Please give your name and address, please, sir.
Davis Lamb with NVR Ryan Homes, 302 Innovation Drive, Franklin, Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
And the 1,400, the intent of that is to try to have a ranch offering within the community. So that would not be all of the units, and the high range is 2,800. And it still creates a problem for managing the process, but it might be where 15% of the houses could be 1,400 and the rest of the houses would be a 1,600 and higher square footage. But that choice was to be able to offer a ranch. That's where that came from.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I would probably be okay with it if we had lot size issues, but they just said we didn't. All of them are pretty much the same size lot,
So what's your recommendation?
1,600 square feet.
What's the wishes of the commission? We have a recommendation for 1,600 square feet. How do the rest of you?
What about a minimum of houses at 1,400?
Again, who's
Is
gonna
that
go,
what
who's
you
gonna
said,
go?
15%?
Yeah,
Well,
gonna govern that with
that was a
two
if.
permits.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think as what Davis had to say is that he's willing to make a commitment that only 15% of the 204 lots would be allowed to be the 1,400 foot
30
minimum.
lots.
And then above that, it'd be 1,600 and above.
How many is that, Kevin?
That's 30 lots.
At 14? And then you all or somebody in permits or code's gonna have to keep up with that and make sure they don't go over that.
Right.
What does staff recommend?
It would be easier for administration purposes to have a minimum
Set.
at whatever that minimum is.
Yes.
And like we did with Amberton with the 1,800. And then you just have to worry about, you don't have to worry about an average or a percentage or whatever. That's the easier thing to administer, certainly. But we will work with whatever planning commission and council wants to approve, but that would be the easier way to administer it. Certainly.
Okay, what do y'all want to do?
I'll make a motion, 1,600 square foot minimum.
Okay. Here, and then is that
And
to approve?
recommend approval with that condition.
Yes, sir.
Is that overall?
That-
1,600 square foot minimum. They
Minimum.
can build them as big as they want, or number doesn't
But
matter.
it
They
has
can
to
build
be
them
a
all
1,600
1,600
square foot minimum.
That just gives them a bottom base, and they don't have to count percentages or anything like that.
And that's not uncommon with what we've done in other PUDs, as far as just establishing a minimum. I had a motion, did I have a second?
Second.
Now, before we vote, our motion is 1,600 minimum, which we would recommend that to council. If y'all don't want us to vote on it, you can withdraw it and bring it back with more detailed information, or we can go ahead and conduct our business. And I give you that choice, since we are modifying it.
We'll move forward if you want to move forward tonight.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? This is with staff comments. We're not extending antique,
Right.
and we're doing it with a 1,600 minimum, correct?
Right.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Moving on, rezoning request, item 2, NVR Ryan Homes, Westover. Staff comments.
Yeah, this is a rezoning request for a tract of land at 8916 Rocky Fork Allenville Road. It's currently zoned R3, it's 42.8 acres. The requested zoning is to a PRD. The surrounding zoning here is RM in Rutherford County. The land use plan would support a medium density, single family in residential in this area. The proposed PRD is for 121 single-family residential lots and 61 townhomes. We had asked them to provide a will-serve letter from CUD, which they have done, and it is as I said earlier on the previous request, it is, fire flow cannot be met at this time, but upgrades are underway to where it will be met in the future in the next 1 to 2 years. The sewer for this will have to come off-site, bankside, through easements from the property to the east. I know they are in the process of obtaining that easement, because I'd actually talked to that property owner earlier today about that. So they are in the process of obtaining that easement. We had a few comments. One was regarding there's a hashed area on the eastern property line. The reason that was hashed is that's actually, they're working with that property owner as part of that negotiation that they would actually deed over a piece of their property to that track as part of the payment for that easement. So that's what that hashed area was for. There is a L-shaped piece of property that seems, they indicated that it was a driveway or an adjacent driveway, but we're still a little bit confused as to that. It's on the, if you look at the concept plan, it's kind of on the, which is the page C 2.0. There's kind of an area shown that we're a little somewhat confused by. It's on the, that would be the north side of the property. It's kind of a narrow L-shaped piece of tract of land, so, anyway, that's, so we just still need to clarify that, I guess, a little bit for us, anyway. They did show the phasing plan for the development, so number 8 has been addressed. They'll need to contact U.S. Postal Service regarding the mail delivery and to show the kiosk, which they've agreed to do. They haven't done that yet, but they've agreed to it. And then comment number 11 regarding the townhome units being renumbered, that has been addressed as well. So primarily we just need that one clarification there as far as our comments. Again, we did receive a traffic study, a joint study with this project and the previous project. And so, and they are, there were some recommendations from that regarding right-of-way dedications, turn lanes, and that sort of thing. And they are, those are being shown as part of this project, to be completed as a part of the project. They did, the townhome portion of the project is kind of in the middle of the project with the single family on around it. There is also kind of scattered throughout the development some guest parking that's separate from the townhome parking, which they would have garages and driveways to meet what we require. But they are also have the additional guest parking. I think it's about 51 or places or something like that.
This property has some topo issues.
There are some issues there. Again, they kind of have the similar issue as the previous project as far as a stream that they're having to avoid in the back. I don't know if it's not extreme topo as like we've had on a couple other projects we've had recently, but there is some topo, certainly.
That's kind of what it looks like that the townhomes back up to. Do we connect to adjacent property owners in
We do.
appropriate places? And
We do. There's not currently any stub streets to this project at all, so there's nothing to tie into other than Rocky Fork Campbellville Road. They do show basically kind of on the north and south side with the street in the back, as well as another track on the more northern side of the project there.
There's no rear way out though, right?
There is no rear way out other
Yeah.
than like I said, to the north and south on the back street. And then there could be eventually a rear way out. But that's kind of, again, they would have to wait till other properties develop around them.
that L-shaped piece of property that you're talking about, is
Yes,
that
sir.
like a driveway easement that's part of this property or not? Or what did you say that
That
was?
could be, there is a driveway that comes back and meets some of those adjoining tracks through those kind of smaller tracks there. And that might be, there is a driveway that goes back there. It also feeds kind of northward. Just looking at the aerial photography in this area, there is a driveway right here. Kind of goes along this property line here. And it kind of goes up into this area as well. There are two houses here on those adjoining tracks, and so there probably is a driveway here. It does It's just, it's not, the existing topo does not show the existing, any structures or driveways or anything on it, so.
Is there any kind of recorded easements or anything?
I don't know.
And I don't know that we care, it's just maybe understanding
Right.
what it is. Oh, square footage, what's the minimum?
It is,
Because that's,
it's a 1,500 to 3,750 range is what they have proposed here. They did not give a average or anything, just the 1,500 to
Just have the
3,750.
size of the townhomes?
I'm assuming the 1,500 is the townhomes, because they are all appear to be a single car garage, a little bit narrower units. So that's my assumption is that the 1,500 is kind of the minimum in the townhome, portion of the development.
On our PUDs, would we normally have that defined a little bit better?
Sometimes you do have a separate, there's a separate minimum for townhome and a separate minimum for the single families. At times, we have had that, yes, or a separate range maybe. And they're here, they might clarify that as well.
Now, as far as addressing 2 parking spaces per townhome unit,
They are, the townhomes, so again, with the only 1 car garages, but they do have 2 parking pad there. And the single family will have the 2 car garage and the 2 car parking pad. And they all have a 25-foot front setback. So they are consistent with what we have required in the recent past for that.
yes, sir, please give your name and address, please, sir.
My name is Kevin Estes with Lane Solutions, 2925 Berry Hill Drive, and I think I can clarify some of this. We have 2 townhome sizes. One is a 28-foot townhome with a 1-level living concept. In other words, the master bedroom is downstairs. Those have 2-car garages, and then the 2-car parking pad in front, and then the 22-foot wide townhome has a 1-car garage and 2-car parking pad in front, and then we provide additional parking off-street in the townhome. So as far as that, and then you're correct, and this is completely my fault that I should have separated the minimum square foot tables, but yes, the minimum square foot is the 22-foot wide townhome at 1,500 square foot. 28-foot townhomes are a little bit larger, around the 1,600 plus square foot, and then the single families move up to that. Most of them are 1,800 and above, but we always like to have a 1-level ranch option on a single family house that is at around that 1,600 square foot. So if you want to condition this, we will gladly add this table to it after the plan commission, before it goes next week to council.
So you'll have X number of 1,500 square foot townhomes,
Right, we have,
and you'll have X number of.
right, I believe the numbers are, we have 28 of the, it's fine, 28-foot wide townhomes, so we have 28 of the master down
Okay,
townhomes, and those are the 1650, what are the?
well, let's just call them 1,600 and.
1,600 square foot townhomes. We have 33 of the 22-foot wide at 1,500, and then 121, I believe, is the number
On the single
of
family.
the single family, and those are 1,600 plus.
So they would have a minimum of 1,600?
Yes.
Okay.
And that table should have been on here. We know better than that. We apologize.
But we like it defined that way, it's just, that everybody's a lot more clear.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Building materials, everything else,
Right,
you're okay with?
yes.
Any other recommendations? What's the wishes of the commission?
Sheldon's not voting, abstaining, not discussing.
This property's already zoned in,
Yeah, it's zoned
R3?
R3 currently,
and
yes.
this is consistent, fairly close with R3?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve with the single car 1,500 townhome, double car.
With
Yeah,
the table that he gave us?
the table that he gave us,
All right, and the 1,600 minimum
minimum on the
the,
homes, yes.
and, in the other staff comments. All right? Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Under new business, item C, preliminary plats, Stone Trace. Staff comments.
Okay, this is a preliminary plat, it's a revision of a plat that has already been approved by the planning commission. It's, has been revised with, there's been quite a bit of discussion between the developer and the town and TDOT for various different things, road improvements and different things. And so this plat has been submitted to kind of be consistent with what's actually going to end up being built with regards to the road improvements and all with Old Nashville Highway, Genie Lane extension, as well as the connection to Samerly Parkway. It's proposed, basically it's 4 lots are proposed. It's all commercially C2 zone. We had several comments and majority of those have all been addressed. Comments 1 and 2 are standard. 3 just is the fire flow is adequate, just for that's for their information and ours. And comment number 4 was regarding the reuse water lines. Reuse water is available here, and our utilities department talked with Mr. Strange earlier this afternoon, and does want to take advantage of this development to have that reuse water available to the commercial businesses that are going to be there for irrigation purposes. And so we did ask them to show those water lines, existing lines, and show them being extended down Genie and Needham. Comments 5, 6, and then 8 through 13 have all, they can all be removed. The only other comment we had left was they are working with TDOT. We just need the formal letter of approval from TDOT that the improvements that they're going to be making in Samerly Parkway. We just wanted to have that for our file. Sheet, trying to
So
find,
we leave 7, but all the rest through 5 through 13, we
Can be re-
scratch.
right. Sheet 9 does show those improvements if you're curious. So it's really just, that's really something that the TDOT has to approve, but they have basically, I don't know if they've officially done it, but they have indicated that they will be improving that. So there would be an access to Needham on the north side. There would be allow for certainly right turns into it as well as out, and then the left turns in from, if you're westbound, and then left turns into the south side that's existing already would continue, but you would not be able to go across and connect there for a straight across. Would not be signalized, but it would still allow for those left turns. on both directions, so.
Where was that, Kevin?
That's on page
Where-
9.
Where it wouldn't be sign,
It would not be
Does it show it up
signalized,
here?
no.
okay.
Yeah, it would not be signalized.
But
It would-
Jeannie Lane would be.
Jeannie Lane and Old Nashville Highway will be signalized, yes.
Is that enough room coming out of Jeannie to stack vehicles in there? I know that intersection is gonna change.
Yeah,
But,
and I know, I was not at the meeting, I know, there was a meeting last week regarding that, I know that, basically, the town has a project we're working with, we got a grant, to
Right.
do the Old Nashville Highway, some improvements there. They're gonna be doing some improvements as part of this development, and we're working kind of together, and
Okay.
they're gonna make some improvements, and then when we come in, because they're gonna be going on before we're able to do our improvements, because we have to go through the whole federal process of using federal dollars. So the finalized intersection improvements really won't be, we will come back in, and the town will come in and finalize everything on the north side as well. But they will be making improvements all the way back north of the entrance to Lowe's, the back entrance to Lowe's there, or the northernmost entrance there. to Lowe's.
Essentially, what this will look like when it's all tied in, especially with the other end that we have a preliminary approval on, is what President's Place and Sam Ridley looks like on the other side,
Right,
from Kroger
westward to.
westward.
Right, yeah, this would, Jeannie Lane would eventually go from Old Nashville all the way to Motlow at some point in the future.
And then once that happens, then there are other connections
Right,
to Sam Ridley where
There'll be-
traffic can disperse.
including two
somewhat.
signalized intersections there as well,
Yes.
with the new development and the existing one at Motlow. And of course, Jeannie will be going westward as well eventually, that the town is gonna be doing, but this would begin that eastward extension of Jeannie over to Motlow Boulevard.
Mike, I think it's a good question, though, about the light there at Jeannie, whether they'll stack well or not, but with the improvements that I think,
It's gonna have to be timed right to get them.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
if not, you will never get out of Jeannie because everybody will back up at the light.
I know that the new signal and the Old Nashville Highway Sam Ridley signal will be coordinated
Timed.
together, certainly. And
will they all
we're-
be part of the ITS we're working
I
on?
believe that Tom wasn't able to be here tonight. I believe it will be a part
Will
of
they be?
all the ITS, yeah.
And the other fact is, Jeannie's already there.
It's already there. yes.
And
Yeah.
if it's closed, it's closed, but anything other than a direct T would be even worse of an issue, I think.
Right.
There is, I think we saw it, a proposal for a tie-in towards the YMCA on this same stretch of road, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
That's still in the works, so there could be another light there or
That's-
another exit out of
That's,
this.
Motlow.
Yeah.
that's part of our major thoroughfare
Right.
plan for, we certainly have we certainly are planning on Jeannie to continue all the way through to Motlow. Now, whether it goes across Motlow into the other part, which is city-owned property.
City owns the property, right.
I assume that it will, of course. It'll have to come in behind the YMCA, because
Right.
that's the only option for it to be there.
Which would put them back out at another light, so you would have three options eventually to get out of that property, or off that
Yes.
property, okay.
Okay? Other issues? Other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the staff comments.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on, item D, final plat, Ibrahim subdivision, Rocky Fork Road, staff comments.
Yes, this is a final plat that was on the existing 2090 Rocky Fork Road. It's currently zoned R4. It's about 2.05 acres. Proposed plat is for 3 lots, all fronting on Rocky Fork Road. We had a few comments. They did submit it. It was labeled actually a preliminary plat when they submitted it, so we did ask them to correct it to a final, because that is all that's necessary for this. And so that has been done, so number 1 could be removed. They did add the owner's and surveyor's signature. They'll need to be added again when a Mylar is created, but as far as number 2, that's been done. 3 and 4 and 5 are kind of standard comments. They don't have to do a sign if they wanted to sign this, like a subdivision that would have a sign. They may not do that, but we did put that on there as well. And then 6 as well as a standard comment. Number 7, regarding the flood map information, has been added, so we can remove that. The fire hydrant has been shown, and it is within 500 feet of all lots, so number 8 can be removed. And then number 9, they did have a 50-foot right-of-way shown for Rocky Fork Road, but as it is a collector, it does require 60 foot, and they have corrected that. So that comment can be removed as well.
Any other questions or comments? Have a motion.
Move to approve the staff comments.
Have a second.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on, under new business E, site plans, B&B flooring, staff comments.
This is the proposed site plan for B&B Floor, which is located at 5700 New Nashville Highway. The 2 combined parcels are approximately 1 acre in size. These are the first 2 parcels as you are entering into town limits on the right-hand side from Murfreesboro. The proposed building is to consist of approximately 9,200 square feet, with warehouse consisting of 5,400 square feet and the sales shop of 3,800 square feet in size. Property is currently zoned C2, proposed uses for a flooring sales shop and stock warehouse, which is allowed by right in the C2 zoning district. Property is bound to the north by vacant land, to the east by a storage complex, to the south by Murfreesboro, and to the west by New Nashville Highway. Surrounding zoning consists of PUD, C2, and CH Highway Commercial District in Murfreesboro. As proposed, the site may be accessed from New Nashville Highway. Square footage of vehicular use area, 15,884 square feet, which would require landscaping of 1,588 square feet. Applicant is showing proposed square footage of landscaping of 1,880 square feet. Total parking required of 9 spaces. Applicant is showing 15 spaces. Handicap parking space requirement is being met with 1 space. Landscape plan submitted by the applicant shows street trees and shrubs along New Nashville Highway. A variety of trees and shrubs are also planted along the north property line and the northern edge of the warehouse. Existing vegetation, which was discussed during the concept plan stage, they are planning on removing trees that are below the 3-inch caliper, which is standard for required by our landscape requirements for the design review manual. So anything at and above 3-inch caliper will remain, and then any limbs that are interfering with traffic flow through the development will be removed as well. So as much landscaping as can be kept will be saved on this property. Design review architectural elevations show primary material of metal siding with 2 different colors to be used on 3 sides of the rear sales warehouse. And the sales building, which fronts New Nashville Highway, will be built with brick and hardy board. Land use plan that identifies proposed site as suitable for commercial development. A couple of standard comments as well as 3 staff comments. Staff comment 1, properties must be combined prior to receiving building permits. At this time, there are 2 separate parcels, so before the building permit's pulled, they must be combined into a single parcel. Staff comment 2, providing approval letter from Rutherford County Environmental Office with regards to the septic tank. Applicant has advised that they acknowledge this comment. 3, regarding the landscaping, the If any of the 3-inch caliper trees along the southern property boundary are damaged during the construction phase, they must be replaced, just to meet our design review manual. And with that, staff would recommend approval with comments.
Essentially, everything was addressed that we addressed in the concept plan, and it was submitted based on the,
If y'all are okay with the
Request.
way the metal looks, I know that was a topic of discussion. You can take a look at their elevations. They submitted color elevations with 2 different tone metal, so it's not one standard metal color for the entire building. But that was the main, and then along with the vegetation along the southern property boundary.
all right.
I think I was the most vocal. I think they did a nice job, especially with where it's at.
Sounds like a motion to me. Is that a motion, Trey?
Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under site plan number 2, Marriott Hotel. Staff comments.
This is a proposed site plan for Marriott Hotel, which consists of approximately 2.83 acres, which is located at 411 Potomac Place. This is part of the larger parcel. The proposed hotel is to be 65,342 square feet in size. The property is currently zoned C2, proposed use as a hotel, which is allowed by right in the zoning district. Property is bound to the north by a condominium complex, to the east by a vacant portion of this same parcel, to the south by the future extension of Potomac Place, and to the west by Cheney Road. Surrounding zoning consists of R6 and C2. As proposed, the site may be accessed from Potomac Place. The proposed building is to be 5 stories and 54 feet in height, which would require a height overlay to be approved by town council before permits can be pulled for this project. Square footage of vehicular use area, 55,258 square feet, which would require landscaping of 5,526 square feet. They are proposing for 7,000 square feet. Total parking required, 102 spaces. They are showing 108 with 5 handicap spaces, and that requirement is being met. Landscape plan submitted by the applicant shows a variety of street trees and shrubs planted along Potomac Place and Cheney Road. There is an Enbridge utility easement that is going along the eastern part of this property, which does prohibit any landscaping from being planted in that area. So the street trees along Potomac Place requirement cannot be met per design review manual. Shrubs are also shown to be planted around the base of the building as well. Architectural elevations show primary material of EIFS to be used on all sides of the building. And future land use plan identifies proposed suite as suitable for commercial development. Couple standard comments as well as staff comments. Staff comment 1 pertains to the height overlay, which must be approved by town council due to the height of the building. Heights of these buildings, standard, cannot go above 40 feet, but being they are going above the 40 feet into the 52 feet elevation, they do need approval from council for that. And staff comment 2 about the street tree spacing requirement per design review cannot be met due to the Enbridge utility easement. Design review requires street trees to be spaced every 40 feet along a road, but due to the easement placement right there, they are not able to meet that requirement. And staff would recommend approval with comments.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Is there any mention of event space that's available on the property?
Event space like inside the building?
Yes.
We don't have any floor plans yet for it, so we don't know if there will be anything inside the building.
And I bring that up because you have allotment for the rooms with parking, say 100% travel ground, drive-in, that's what I mean. And then if you have an event on top of that, then where's the parking for that? So that would be something of concern.
Yeah. The parking requirement is 1 space per room, so you have 102 rooms, 102 spaces. We don't have anything yet as far as additional spaces if an event is being held at that site, so.
we'd have to see a
Where is our
Floor
Jenny
plan.
Lane connection
So,
in relationship to this property?
do we have a picture of the overall site? So, that Genie Lane is, sorry, not Genie,
Potomac.
are you talking about, Cheney, or are you talking Genie?
Now kind of shows it.
There you
Well,
go.
that just shows Potomac. Yeah, the Genie Lane, it's gonna basically come in on basically the opposite side of the easement from where the building is where, so it might be, you can kind of see, I mean, their building is proposed like within a foot of the easement. The opposite side of that easement is where
Is that where the parking is?
there is some parking there. The parking is on the easement though. It'll be on the opposite side of that easement. It's where, which they're actually, from looking at their site plan, there is about,
Let's see.
there's approximately 15 feet or so, well, 16 to 18 feet down to about 10 or 11 feet at Potomac. On the other side of the easement, as shown on this lot. So at some point, the city would be acquiring that right away. And
Well,
where they
I thought we
dedicate,
required it when we approved the
Yeah.
plat.
It's already done. It's designated.
it's designated already. Yeah, it's not showing up on this plan, but it is designated already. On this piece of the property, we still have another property owners we have to work with, but on this property, it's already been designated.
Okay, so where would it be?
I mean, it's essentially on the other side, where this property line is this proposed property line, it would be next to that, on the other side of
So
on the
it's
opposite
off
side of
the
the
property.
easement. On the opposite side of the easement from the motel itself, is where it'll be tying in.
So Jenny Lane is off this property.
Yes,
That's it. It's off the property.
And it's part of the recorded plat, correct?
Yes. Where it was supposed to be.
well, it was a part of the approved plat, they just recorded the first phase. All they've recorded at this point is Potomac, it's part of the approved plat,
Okay,
and it would be a part of phase two.
just so I understand.
Because at the time, we didn't know exactly where it was gonna go, and so,
Essentially, you're saying Jenny Lane that we approved
Yes.
is here?
yes.
And there has been an easement approved for Genie Lane.
Yeah, it was a part of the approved plat, they didn't record that, they basically recorded the road and didn't record the east side of the road, basically.
Why would we not want that recorded as part of the plat when we do this site plan? Because if it's not recorded, we don't know when we'll ever get it, if we do get it.
Well, it's a part of the approved plat, so I mean, it'll be, and the developers have already agreed to dedicate it to us.
But what I'm saying is, when you recorded the plat for this one lot,
Well, we
it would've been
recorded the plat for the right of
very simple to
way.
record that one lot and dedicate that street.
And we can do that when we know, because at this time, on this side, the east side of Potomac Place, other than the lot at the front, at the corner there, the east side of Potomac Place, so they had 2 or 3 lots shown on that side, and that
I
with
don't
the
care about
road.
those lots, all I want is
I understand that, but my point is they didn't record, they kind of did a phase 1 and a phase 2, basically, and that Genie Lane dedication, or the right-of-way recording part of it, will be a part of phase 2. And they kind of did that partially because we didn't know exactly at that time. I think we're getting closer. I know in this year's budget that began yesterday, we have an engineering, basically are paying to get the design done to extend Genie from here all the way to Bull
Okay,
Range.
but when
But
we approved the plat,
the right-of-way was shown on the plat, and it's part of the
We
recorded
approved-
plat.
And we approved the preliminary and the final same day.
And the
So
plat.
they could close, because it's less than a 5-acre deal, I think. But they're only recording,
At this time, we've only recorded the Potomac Place right-of-way. The Jeannie Lane right-of-way hasn't been recorded yet. The plat has been approved to be recorded. But at the time, we didn't know exactly where the right-of-way was going to be located at that
And you still
point.
don't.
And we still don't know exactly.
That's the whole point. They still don't know where they want Jenny Lane to hit Potomac.
Right.
They're starting
We know
that
the
design
basic
now.
idea where we want it
Hold
to
on,
be.
hold on.
Yeah.
You're starting the design now, but the point is, it's gonna be off this property. And they're still gonna do it, but the town doesn't know where they want it yet. And that's why they're not recording it.
And-
Is that it, in a nutshell?
And the developer they're gonna dedicate it. I mean, it's been a,
It's dedicated,
Right.
but the location has yet to be
It hasn't been-
determined.
it hasn't been
it's not
recorded.
dedicated until the plat's recorded.
right. It's not been recorded yet, but the developer that's just a matter of, once we know what we want, it'll be recorded and taken care of.
You do know it's off this piece of property. I mean, it's off this layout that they're showing us tonight.
Right. It's my understanding.
But
yeah.
you don't know where yet. That's why they're not showing it.
Yes, sir. Please give your name and address.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, I'm Steve Steele with Huddleston Steel Engineering. I live at 408 Division Street here in Smyrna. The lot for this Marriott has not yet been recorded. That lot would have to be recorded prior to pulling a permit. To answer Mr. Lee's question, I can't stand here and tell you definitively that no part of the road would be on any part of this development, but whatever there might be, depending on where it ends up being, would be on the other side of the gas line. And we're not going to be using, there's a small strip of property on our site plan Kevin scaled, 10 to 11 feet at the road and 16 to 18 feet at the back. We're not showing anything on there related to the hotel. It could be that when the final Genia Lane alignment is reached, that may shift a little bit. But again, until a plat is recorded, they can't start building a hotel. So if you make the approval of this site plan subject to that plat, that lot being recorded, it should work itself out.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions, comments? The overlay, are we recommending the height overlay? Is that a separate item?
That's a separate issue they'll have to come back and apply for. That was not, we didn't know the exact height. When I first met with the developer on this, I mentioned that it might be needed, and at that time, he didn't know exactly how tall it was gonna be and that sort of thing. And until we received the elevations last week, with the actual height delineated on there, we didn't know if we needed it or
Do we
not.
know enough to include it now, or we just come back? Is that, because council has to approve that?
Council has to approve. I
One
would
reading or two?
It's two. I would recommend waiting, we're looking at that next month. I think they're gonna submit for that next month.
Okay.
Kevin, do we know what the percentage of EFS is on this building?
It's all,
Well, so that's my question. I know it's their brand. We had this come up with Captain D's not long ago. Is there anything we need to do to maybe try to offset the amount of this?
most of the existing hotels have at least the first floor being a brick or stone, and the rest of it EFS beyond, up above the first floor.
I know it's gonna come up.
Yeah,
That's what I'm asking.
yeah. And so I don't know, I'm sure this is what I'm sure Steve submitted whatever the architect gave him. So, but typically, what most of the hotels that have been built in town have had the bottom floor being a brick or stone with the rest being
And they're using a little more wood here, it looks, or a wood grain, a fiber grain.
yeah, some of it is.
Have we had any others that's had the height requirement too, that they,
Yeah, we've had more than one. We've had, I know Hilton Garden Inn had one.
is it for fire protection? Is that-
Yeah, the 40-foot height maximum was based on what is the maximum height. And basically, for us to do an overlay, fire department will look at it and make sure. And they didn't make any comments on this one, so I think everything, the layout is okay. But that they can reach that 5th floor and rescue someone if they had to with the ladder. So if they can do that, then typically that's been the kind of the reasoning to either approve or not approve a height overlay.
I think we had to do this at the hospital too, as I recall. didn't we?
The hospital actually was before we had the height overlay option, and
Created it,
and that's when we created it after that, because they went to BZA
added
and
the
were granted a
floor,
variance, yeah.
So what are your wishes on the design review part?
You know, I'd just like to see them maybe tweak this a little bit where it's not so much total ethos. I think they're gonna run into some more questions about it as we go along, especially to get the council know. That's been a topic of conversation, you know, I remember Trey bringing this up a year or two ago and talking about, the full use of ethos and how the maintenance of that over time, if it's not taken care of, can start looking dirty and so forth. So I don't think Marriott is a problem. I think they'll take care of their product. But for feedback's purposes, I'd like to see a little more, less of it, accented with something a little more durable. I know it's a cost factor for them too.
But also, this is site plan, and
Right.
this is,
When you need to address it if you want to, yeah.
We asked, a couple of years ago, we asked Captain D's to do that on Amable Road, as you recall. And it's a smaller building, a lot less costly. They went back to their corporate people and met us in the middle a little bit with that.
well, one, I assume we can put it off for a month and ask for that. Two, we could approve it subject to, if they don't like it, they can come back and ask for that. Because they're coming back with the height overlay anyway.
Right.
So, so I think what I'm hearing is you either want to defer it or you want to say what you want, put it in there as part of the motion and part of the approval, and that could still come up for discussion at another time. We understand that.
I think as a primary product, I'd like to see it changed. I mean, that's just me, and I don't know how the rest of the body here feels, but EVIS doesn't bother me as an accent, but as a primary product, it's not as durable. I don't think the appearance of it is going to be as durable over time.
So do you have a recommendation, or do you wish for them to bring it back and we discuss it next time?
I'd like to leave it open for them to have some input in it, really, and come back and give us a proposal that they feel like they can work with. Kevin, do you have any input on that?
Well, I think if they gotta come back next month for a height overlay,
Give
I
them
mean,
the
they
feedback.
can't, they're not looking at getting a building permit tomorrow, you know,
Right.
so I think, deferring it a month, I have to ask them to come back with something different on the,
I'm sure they have different models and plans
Yeah.
that they can look at.
and then.
I guess
we
my
could
point
consider
is, I
next
know we're not
month.
Franklin, Tennessee, but I don't think you'd see this built in Franklin. I don't think they would allow it, all EFS. So I'm not saying we're Franklin, Tennessee, or we should be comparing ourselves to Franklin or Brentwood, but they have models that they can do those things with in other locations. So maybe they've got some input on this and they can work with us on it.
So your motion is to defer?
I would make a motion to defer for that one purpose.
Is there, we have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Yes.
Before we
Yeah,
vote.
discussion, go ahead.
May I brought up an excellent point of the event issue. I'd like to know whether they're going to have any kind of event space in here, because it does affect parking. Our parking requirements is based on number of rooms. That's sleeping rooms, not events. So if we could at least find out yes, no, maybe as part of this. If we're asking questions, let's ask that too.
All right, anything else? We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 6, July bond report. Staff comment.
Yeah, we've got two tonight. One is the Villages Section 2. It's one we've only had 1 year. It's about $20,000. We had several items still need to be completed or repairs. They did request an extension. We've only had this 1 year where we would be okay with a 1 year extension on this. And then Liberty Hills Section 2. This one's only, well, it's about 65% built. Again, some repairs to be made. Did talk to the developer. They did ask to keep the bond in place, and they were planning in their hope to complete the items that are left later this summer or fall. So we would recommend, I guess, extending that one as well for that purposes.
Register me not voting on this one, please, ma'am. Any other discussion? Have a motion?
Register me not voting as well.
I'll make the motion to approve the bond review.
Have a second?
Second.
Oh, I thought you said you could vote too.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Talk about fireworks.
Wednesday, tomorrow, if it doesn't rain. Rain out day is Friday. So tomorrow at Lee Victory Recreation Park is the town's big firework event, and it's always one of the biggest events in the city. So if you've got nothing better to do, come on out and enjoy all the fireworks with us. So, happy Independence Day.
Anything else? We stand adjourned. Thank you all.